Downsizing is supposed to be the easy win of retirement. Sell the big house, buy something smaller, pocket the difference, and lower your bills for good. It is the advice everyone gives, and on paper it sounds almost too obvious to question. So let us imagine a couple, and we will call them Ray and Carol. Ray and Carol did exactly that. They followed the plan to the letter, and a year later, they were quietly paying more to live in a smaller home than they had paid in the larger one they left. Nothing they did was reckless. They simply never ran the one calculation that would have shown them the truth. And it is a calculation almost no one runs before they sell. Let me walk through what happened to them, because their surprise is hiding inside 4 costs. And every one of those costs is waiting for anyone who downsizes without doing the full math first. Ray and Carol were in their early 70s. Their home was paid off, the kids were long gone, and the 4 bedrooms they no longer used felt like rooms they were heating and cleaning for no reason. So the plan made perfect sense. Sell the big house, move into a tidy 2-bedroom place, and let the leftover money strengthen their retirement. They were doing everything the responsible way. What no one warned them about is that the savings they were counting on can quietly disappear in 4 different directions, and the first one is the one that catches longtime homeowners the hardest. The first cost is the tax on the sale itself, and this is where decades of loyalty to a home can turn around and bite. There is a rule that lets you keep a large chunk of the profit from selling your main home without paying tax on it. For a single person, it shields up to $250,000 of gain, and for a married couple, it shields up to $500,000. That sounds like plenty. Here is the trap. That limit was written into law back in 1997, and it has never once been raised since. Meanwhile, the value of homes has climbed for almost 30 years. So a couple who bought their home for $50,000 or $60,000 decades ago and sell it today for $600,000 or $700,000 can sail right past that $500,000 shield and owe capital gains tax on the rest. And it does not stop at the ordinary rate. Depending on the size of the gain and your income, part of it can be taxed at the higher long-term rate. And a slice can even attract an extra investment tax on top. For Ray and Carol, that unexpected tax bill took the very first bite out of the money they thought they were freeing up. They had counted the whole profit as theirs. A chunk of it never was. The second cost is the one that feels almost unfair because it happens even though they were moving to something smaller. Their property tax went up, not down. Here is why. In many places, the tax on a home is anchored to an old assessed value, one that has been sitting low for years because they had owned the place so long. The moment you buy a different home, that clock resets. The new house is assessed at today's full market value, and the tax is calculated fresh from there. So a couple can move from a big house with a comfortably low, long frozen tax bill into a smaller house that is taxed at full current value, and end up owing more every year than they did before. Some states do offer a way for older homeowners to carry their old low value to the new home, but it comes with strict conditions and deadlines, and Ray and Carol never knew to ask. The third cost is the money that simply vanishes in the act of moving, and it is far larger than most people expect. Selling a home is not free. The agent commission alone commonly runs around 6% of the sale price, which on a large home is tens of thousands of dollars gone before anything else. Then come the closing costs, which typically land somewhere between 2 and 5% of the home's value. Add the price of preparing the old home to sell, the movers, the new furniture that always seems necessary, the small repairs on the new place. None of it feels huge on its own. Together, it can swallow a startling share of the difference between the two homes. Ray and Carol watched a real portion of their expected windfall evaporate in transaction costs they had barely factored in. The fourth cost is the quietest and the most lasting, because unlike the others, it never goes away. It is the ongoing monthly cost of the new place, and a smaller home does not automatically mean smaller bills. Their tidy two-bedroom was in a nicer, more convenient area, which meant it cost more per square foot than the sprawling house they left. It came with a homeowners association, and those dues, which average around $300 a month across the country, can climb and can hit you with a sudden special assessment when the roof or the elevator needs work. Insurance in the new area was higher. A couple of the utilities were higher. None of these were dramatic by themselves. Stacked together, month after month, they were enough to erase the modest savings the smaller home was supposed to deliver. Now, step back and look at what the four costs did as a whole, because this is the part that surprises people the most. Ray and Carol did not make a foolish decision. They made a reasonable one in a market that has quietly turned against the old assumption. Home prices have risen sharply in recent years, and the cost of borrowing has stayed high. So the smaller home in the better spot is often no longer the bargain it once was. When you add a tax bite on the sale, a reset and higher property tax, tens of thousands in moving and selling costs, and ongoing bills that refuse to shrink, the tidy little profit they had imagined simply was not there. In their case, it went the other way. So let me turn this into something useful, because the point is not that downsizing is a mistake. For many people, it is exactly the right move. The point is that it has to be a decision made with the full picture, and here is how you get that picture before you ever list the house. Start by running the honest, complete math, not the square footage. Write down the real number you would walk away with after the tax on the sale, after the agent and closing costs, and after the moving expenses. That is your true profit, and it is almost always smaller than the sticker difference between the two homes. Let me make that concrete. Picture an old home that sells for $700,000 and a new one that costs $500,000. On paper, that looks like $200,000 freed up for retirement. Now begin subtracting. Take out the tax on the gain, say $30,000. Take out the agent and closing costs on the sale, perhaps another $45,000. Take out the move itself and the setting up of the new place, maybe $15,000. That $200,000 cushion has quietly shrunk to something closer to $110,000. Still real money, but barely half of what was pictured, and that is before a single higher monthly bill has even arrived. Then compare the ongoing monthly cost of the new life against the old one, every line of it. The property tax as it will be reassessed, not as the previous owner paid it. The association dues, the insurance in that specific area, the utilities. Only when the new monthly total sits next to the old one can you see whether you are actually saving anything at all. Before you sell, ask directly about the tax on your gain, because if your home has grown far beyond that shield, there are timing choices and strategies worth knowing. And this is a conversation to have with a tax professional while you still have options, not after the sale closes. And ask your county whether your state lets an older homeowner carry a low assessed value to a new home. In a handful of states, an owner who is 55 or older can move their old low tax base to a replacement home, usually one of equal or lesser value, and usually within 2 years of the sale. Where that exists, it is one of the most valuable protections available, and it is the very thing that could have spared Ray and Carol their higher bill. Where it does not exist, the reset is simply part of the cost. Either way, you want to know which world you live in before you sell, not after. And know that selling is not the only door. Some people find that staying in the home they already own and modifying it instead, adding a rail, a walk-in shower, a bedroom on the main floor, costs far less than the whole machinery of selling and buying, and it keeps the low tax bill they already have. Others rent out a room and turn a big empty house into income rather than a burden, None of these is automatically the right answer, but they belong on the table beside downsizing, not forgotten behind it. And be honest with yourself about why you are moving. If it is for less upkeep, or to be near your children, or for a home without stairs you can age in safely, those can be very good reasons on their own, entirely apart from money. Downsizing does not have to save a dollar to be the right choice. It just should not be done in the belief that it will save money when the math quietly says otherwise. And in the end, a couple like Ray and Carol are usually fine. They come to love the neighborhood. The smaller place is easier on them, and they make their peace with it. But the lesson inside their story is the part worth keeping. The regret is rarely the move itself. It is going into it certain it will make you richer, when a single honest afternoon with a calculator would have said the opposite, and would have let you choose it with clear eyes instead of walking into a surprise. One last, plain word before I go. I am not a tax advisor, and none of this is advice about your specific situation, because the numbers turn heavily on your own home, your own game, and the rules of your own state, all of which differ and change. So treat their story as your reason to run your own numbers and to ask a qualified professional before you sell, not as the final say. A smaller home can absolutely be a better life. Just make sure you have counted the whole cost of getting there, so that whatever you decide it awake.